Hello and welcome to Rolling with Two. I'm Will, and with me as always is the person who says whenever I have to build a queendom, it gives me hives.
Sarah.
And today we're doing a two-player perspective and accessibility for Propolis. Now if you're curious about our opinion on the game, check out our other video, Rolling with Reviews, Propolis. Sarah, tell us a bit about this game.
All right. This is a worker placement, area control, and tableau building game. Players are competing medieval bees, or bee colonies, and you take turns deploying worker bees to collect pollen, fortify their positions, and construct their hives to appease their queen. Once a player builds 10 structures, the end of the game is triggered. After everyone has an equal number of turns, whoever has the most points wins. Okay, so how does the game change for 2 players?
So the number of queen palaces changes for all player counts, as well as the number of landscape cards used. This is the cards that you place your little beeples on to generate things. The number of those and rows used changes. There is no beebot.
Nope. No beebot.
No beebot.
So issues at a 2-player count. There is unfortunately no way to refresh the buildings, so it can stagnate, which again happens in a lot of 2-player games. So the problem here is to get the queen cards, you need certain permanent resources. And if the buildings that are available don't have that, you can't get to them. And then there's times where you can't easily build what is there because they're not in the rows of the land. So there can be some dissonance between what resources you can collect, what the buildings want, and what the queen palaces want.
Yeah, this is a bit more solved in higher player counts because more players are buying up buildings, so that is refreshing faster. And there's more landscape cards, so there's more likely the chance to have a resource that you actually need.
Right. And then speaking of the land, the resources, those rows are really slow to resolve in a 2-player game. I mean, they've restricted it, and this is the problem with all area control at 2 players. You need enough variety so you can do the things you need to do in the game, but it's often still such a large enough area that we get to a point where we barely have any beeples left in our personal supply before a row resolves. And it could be because I'm going all on the top row and Will's all going on the bottom row. So we're not helping each other.
Yeah, because the reward is that person who wins the majority gets all their beeples back.
Right.
Which is very handy. So sometimes we're like, well, you're already dominating that row. Why should I help you get your beeples back when I need my beeples right now?
Right. So then you end up... Now, this is obviously not always going to happen, but in our experiences, then that means that you have to finish your row or take a whole turn just to take your beeples back, which just doesn't feel good to waste a whole turn just taking your beeples back.
Yeah.
Without getting the benefit of like also the wild resource type of thing. So
or if they don't want to give a wild resource, one of the other resources of your choice.
Right.
Which is like a wild, but it's more restricted because then it's now just a purple or just a yellow or just a blue.
Yeah. But what it does well then, because there's only 2 people, there is less competition for the resource spots and the buildings. So that is also nice if you're like, I want to build this building. You can look at your only opponent, figure out what they're doing, and see whether that building is safe from you or not.
Yeah.
Because after a little while, you can tell what they're going for. You can at least look at their resources and say, well, they don't have any yellow, so they can't build this building.
Yeah, they're not going to build the one that needs 6 yellow.
Right.
That would take way too long. And that wouldn't make any sense, especially since I have 5 yellow. They can guess I might be building that.
Right. Higher player counts, it's going to just be really hard to keep track of that many people, plus the cards will just be moving a lot faster.
Yeah.
But I think that's pretty much it for the 2-player experience.
Okay, accessibility.
Okay, so the beeples, unfortunately, are only distinguished by color. They all look the same. And they're kind of close colors because there's green, light blue, dark blue, and magenta. So those were kind of unusual color choices to me, but on the other hand, they probably wanted to pick colors that popped off of the terrain.
Yeah.
Because then the terrain has its own set of colors, so you wouldn't want anything complementary to that. So if you need to replace these, the only thing that's really requirement is you need a type of meeple that can stand up or lay down, because that is important here.
Yeah, because when standing up, you've just placed it. When laying down, it's fortified.
Right. So that's the thing.
Or you're getting twice the number of meeples to represent standing up and laying down. Also,
we did find, for what felt like a lighter weight game, that one of the concepts was really convoluted, and it was kind of the area control and resolving how you get a wild.
Yeah. It's just layered.
Yeah.
So, for example, if there's a row and there's one card left that has space and you're the last person to put on it, you'll get a wild. And you'll have to resolve the row, because rows only resolve when all the cards are full. Well, then you have to look at majority. Standing up ones are worth 1 point, laying down ones are worth 2 points. If there's a tie, nothing happens. However, if one person obviously wins, they'll get a wild if it's not their turn, and all their meeples back, whether it's their turn or not. Then you refresh the card rows. However, if there is a tie, then the first person to fortify on there will get a wild, and thus win and get their
meeples back.
It just went on and on for, okay, I'm still not sure what happens now. I have to check.
I personally would have just simplified it, is whoever has the majority gets their beeples in a wild. I don't fully understand why it needs to be the person who's not the active player. That just feels really weird.
Well, the funny thing is, even when it's not your turn, you will still get a wild and all your meeples back, because you met one of the other conditions of either being the last one to place or the one to fortify. So it's still happening that you're getting a wild and all your meeples back when it is your turn, even though that says in there that when it's not your turn and you win, you just get your meeples back. I think they made it that way so that it wasn't intentional that you get 2 wilds.
Oh, I guess I see that.
But it's sad.
It's confusing is what it is.
Yeah, it's sad because then your wild comes from 2 totally different places rather than the one consistent place that you would think it would come from.
And as you can see, I'm still confused.
Yes.
So it's just the rest of the game is really streamlined and straightforward. So it felt really weird to have this one part that was just a little convoluted. And it just might be a stumbling block for some people.
Right.
Also, do not bump the table, because you have to have your meeples or beeples standing up and laying down. As we found out, bumping the table usually makes them fall over.
Yeah, so make sure your playing surface is as flat and as level as possible. Otherwise, you're going to be doing a practice thing like, don't, no, okay, no, all right,
yeah.
And then hoping that a breeze doesn't go through the window.
That's true. Also, since this is a small box, and unfortunately a lot of the flat out games like this are small boxes, which, generally are nice, but the rule books are small, the font is small, the diagrams are small. So it's just, my aging eyes don't really like that too much. So for me, some of those diagrams did not really come in handy, because I couldn't see them very well. I couldn't see the details very well that a larger one would have helped.
Speaking of details, another issue is a font on the cards. The guild letter, there are 4 letters, A, B, C, and D. They have the most elaborate curly...
Yeah, I forgot what that font is called, but it's some kind of like old English. Looks really pretty, but it's really hard to read. I'm glad it's letters rather than more symbols. Right. I will say that. But, and you can obviously match them up to each other. So this shape looks like that shape. But yes, when trying to figure out, is that an A, is that a C, or is that a D? It gets a little, yeah.
It's nothing that you can look at and immediately interpret right away. It's something that takes half a moment to process.
It's not the at a glance, I know what that is type of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it for the issues. So what it does right, well, all the colors other than the beeples all have icons. So all your resources are identified by symbols. The downside is they're almost all varieties of flowers. So for us, we didn't have words for some of these icons, so we ended up using just the color as the, identifier.
Yeah.
It just would have been nice to be able to know which flowers they are, to say, oh, would you like a tulip or a sunflower? I mean, I guess I know those two, but...
Yeah, but there was like one that's one flower and one that's three flowers.
Right, and I didn't know the shape of the flowers well enough to identify what they were. I'm not a botanist. Is that the right word? I'm not a botanist.
Fortunately, the icons are extremely distinct.
Yeah, they are. So if you're just glancing at it, it's really easy to say, okay, this sunflower looks like that sunflower, so those things go together. I need 2 sunflowers to get the queen's thing, and I have 1, so I know what to go for.
Yeah.
So it's not a problem there. It's just when trying to converse with someone who can't see the board at all, we don't have a language other than relying on the color.
Right.
The cutout boards are really nice in that they do hold the resource markers. And the great thing is you don't really need to have the resource markers colors in the right rows. If this colorblind accessibility is a problem for you, you just need a marker in the row because the icon on the left side will tell you what that resource is for.
Yeah, and then you can just feel like, well, I know the sun resource is at the top.
Yes.
Below it is the orange. Below it is the blue, pink, purple, whatever.
Yeah.
While it's off to the side.
And lastly, this game is completely open information. So if there is anything anyone is having trouble with, hopefully someone else at the table can help.
Yes.
All right, that's everything.
All right, for 2 players, would you recommend?
It's gonna be fine. I don't think it's necessarily the best experience because the rows can stagnate, but it's okay.
Yeah, agreed. It's a fine experience. Accessibility.
This is gonna be a mixed bag, but I think most people are gonna be okay.
Yeah, the beeples are going to be the major stumbling block, especially for those with colorblind issues in the spectrum of your blues and greens.
Yeah.
Because it's like saying, well, it's the blue one. No, the other blue one. The greenish blue one. The blue one is mine. The blue one is that one. And the green one, that's yours. That you can't see, so it's blue to you.
Yeah, but the good news is they are a type of meeple. So hopefully you have other games where you can borrow some meeples of different shapes. Granted, you're no longer having B-shaped beeples, but...
Yeah, grab all your Nanimans.
Yeah, grab all your Nanimans, then you have... Well, you still have beeples because they're banana...
Yes.
Okay.
That's why they work.
I guess that's true. All right.
All right, Sarah. Now, one thing I mentioned to you that has really nothing to do with the game, but other than the fact that it's thematics, is I thought the thematics could have been better.
Yeah, medieval bees just didn't really connect. Bees were interesting.
Yes.
But making it medieval.
Yeah, my thought was that they used medieval to basically give people a frame of reference in terms of human reference so that they're not completely thrown off by an alien concept that insects would understand.
Yeah.
However, if you were going to do that, I would have thought that with a name like Propolis, you could have done it in like the modern day.
Yeah.
And then everyone is doing big bee business. Mm-hmm. And so these are your corporations.
You could be worker bees.
And you'd be worker drones.
See, now that would have actually been something I could connect to because a lot of us are worker bees, whether we're corporate or whatever. So that would be a connection that I think, it wouldn't be as pretty though. That is one thing. The artwork is very pretty.
Yeah, and also well, that also could be a turnoff for a
That's
lot of people
true.
too. So
Do you really want to play a game that reminds you of work?
yeah.
But it's a double-edged sword, because that would be, it is something easier to connect to, but it also might turn people off. So
Yeah.
there you go.
All right. And why would you ever roll with just one when you can be
Rolling with two?
If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach out to us on the various social media platforms at
Rolling with Two, that's TWO. We're on Blue Sky, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Discord, we have a channel on Tabletop Express. Check the show notes for the invite link.
If you have time, check out the other content Nanaman has found for you, because remember, he's rolling with you.